another episode of the Streets to Success podcast with Frank, Jalil, and we got a different guest here today. Usually we give you guys the stories. I'm not really sure Ryan's story, but I know his expertise and the value he can bring to this podcast today. So we're grateful to have Ryan here from I Teach Credit.
Yes, sir. It's
Ryan,
good to be here, man.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling awesome. In fact, knowing what you're doing and seeing your stories and, the things you're doing to help out the communities, this is exactly where I want to be right now. So I'm totally stoked for this.
Awesome. Glad to have you.
Yeah, so we start off with the whole rundown, your life story, where you were born at, where you from, the things you went through in life, up to the point that you're at right now. So you want to start them off?
Yeah, just tell people a little bit about where you're from and, how you got into where you're at today, basically.
Yeah, so I grew up in Abington, Pennsylvania, not too far from here. Went to school at Bishop McDevitt, which was kind of like right on the cusp of the city. So I had a little bit of the city life and the suburb life. And, life was good, but it wasn't great. I grew up, my parents split when I was really, really young. Both of them had some, extracurricular activities and things to where I didn't see my parents a whole lot. So I didn't have a lot of guidance. So going through life, a lot of my experience was street smarts, living and learning, making mistakes, realizing that life can be hard. Even though I was a white boy living in the suburbs, it wasn't great. I lived with my grandmother. We were talking earlier about how I used to have to chop wood in order to heat the house with the wood-burning stove. So, life was different. Some days we didn't have food and stuff. So, I had that life.
Nothing was handed to you.
Nothing was handed to me. I had that life. And then there was a period of time later in life where, my dad kind of came around. He married this new woman. He was a member of the country club. So, I kind of got to see the country club life, and I got to see the not-so-good life. And so, I had a great idea of the scale. And I was like, okay, what's the difference between this world and this world? And as I went through life, I always tried to surround myself or learn from people who were in a better position than where I was. And it was never like I was jealous that guy had a nicer car or that guy had nicer clothes. It was like, how did you get that? How did you get that stack of cash? How did you get that, BMW?
You were more motivated than envious.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, being envious doesn't get you shit, right? When you see somebody's like, cool, can you tell me how to do that? And if somebody was willing to do it, I realized I could have anything I wanted. And that's one thing. My dad had a Christmas tree business. He still has it today. But what he told me was, you can have anything in this world you want if you're willing to go out and earn it.
Right.
And so when I learned that, I was like, okay, how do I earn things that I really want? And, there I learned there's a lot of people in this world that work hard. But so many people, they're not working smart. Yeah. And they're not learning to adapt and evolve with life. And that's why they struggle. They're like, oh, I work hard every day. Well, who fucking cares if you're doing dumb work? Right? If you're doing work that's not going to pay you well, you can work harder than most people, but you're never going to make the money to have that kind of lifestyle. And as I got older, I was doing smart things, and sometimes my timing was bad. I got into commercial real estate at like 19, and 9/11 happened right before I was about to have my first six-figure payday.
Wow.
Everything seized up. I was $60-some thousand in debt, and was like, hey, got to figure it out. Got into the insurance world. I was actually bartending when I was doing commercial real estate. Started bartending, and I was at the bar at Old York Road Country Club. And as I was bartending, I was looking at the guys that had the most money, and I would ask them, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living? The most common thing was insurance.
It's crazy. I
was like, fuck, okay, let me get into the insurance world. So I went to the guy. His name was Brian Sheehan. He had a nationwide office. I said, Brian, I want to ask for a job. I want you to hire me for 3 months. I need this much money. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, you fire me in 3 months. No questions asked. He looked at me. He's like, sure. Just like that, 1 month later, he's like, you got a full-time position. I ended up running one of his offices. I paid off all my debt within 2 years. I was told to declare bankruptcy. I didn't. Right. I was like, there's no way I'm going to have that go against my life. Figured it out. And then I went down my own agency. Ironically, because I crashed and burned in commercial real estate, I couldn't get approved. I was one of the better salespeople in the Montgomery County area for State Farm. My credit score sucked, and I got denied.
Wow.
25 years later, not remembering that until like a couple months ago, now I teach credit around the country, and it's the coolest, best experience ever because it doesn't matter if you make $20,000 a year or $2 million a year.
Yeah.
Credit doesn't matter. Your credit doesn't care. It's all about, do you play by the rules of the algorithm, which is why I don't focus on credit scores. I focus on credit profiles, because if I can teach you the factors in a credit algorithm, it doesn't matter which algorithm you're looking at, whether it's a FICO 2 for a mortgage or a FICO 10T, which is for credit cards and auto loans. I can teach you how to boost your score so that you can live a better life.
Okay, so how I just want to get to your story, bro. How are you in school? You seem like a very intelligent guy. How was your schooling? Like, did you go to
sucked.
college, anything after? No.
I almost failed out of high school. The only thing I excelled in was math, and I had the brain and the mindset that if I didn't like it, I didn't want to do it. So in school, I almost flunked out because of Spanish and because of science, because it wasn't my thing. Like, I was bored. Math classes, I was like in accelerated classes. Got to college, same thing. I was like, outside of business class, I was going to fail out of college. And I was like, this is stupid. And I came home, and that's the funny thing, like, because all of my friends that went and graduated in college and did really well, some of them are doing really well, but there's a lot of them that I'm doing way better than, and I was almost a college and high school dropout.
Wow.
And that's, it's a great question, because I think the schooling system today doesn't teach kids to think and survive. It teaches kids to just do.
I think if we're talking about the United States education system, they're rewarding you for what you remember.
Sure.
They're not teaching you valuable things that can be applicable to everyday life when obviously you're an adult. Then this comes to money management, credit, diversification, bank accounts. Like, it's just teaching you like how to read. And nowadays you don't need anything with a cell phone. You don't need that knowledge they're giving you. Why do I need to remember it? Because I can type it in.
Right.
And they
Einstein
teach you
said.
there's only one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
There's a million ways you can skin a cat, but in school it's one answer to each question. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
My commercial real estate mentor, he told me a long time ago, he said, when 2 + 2 doesn't work, there's always another way to get to 4.
Absolutely.
You just got to think about it and solve it.
Yeah.
And for those people that figure that out in life, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we grew up in an area in a world where, we didn't learn the best. We didn't have the best, parents. I didn't have money to invest myself when I was a kid. You still figure it out, right? Whether it takes you a little longer or not, you can still get there.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you were saying, you struggled in school, you hated school, and look, you're doing great now. Now you're on a podcast. Like, that's some cool shit right there. And that just goes to show when people want to figure it out, they'll put in the work. Too many people, they're waiting for the handout. And that's like what he said about the school system. The government doesn't give us the proper tools.
Yeah.
And that's what
Intentionally.
sucks. Intentionally, because they want people to be doers, not thinkers.
Yeah, right.
And they don't realize. So, I mean, yeah, I was very fortunate that, I surrounded myself with some of the best people. And, as I grew up, one of my best friends, he bought a house at like 24.
Wow.
He was buying a house. I was driving to parties with 2 30-packs in the back of a brand new Volkswagen Jetta. At the time that was a hot car.
Yeah.
And, now he's probably got like a shit ton more money than I do. I'm playing catch up. But that's because I didn't grow up till I was 35 years old. But that's okay. At least I'm doing it now. I'm not at 45 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So did you did wind up graduating college, right?
No.
you
After the
didn't?
first year, I was done. I was traveling the entire New England,
Okay.
playing ice hockey.
Okay.
I was a varsity freshman, which was a
Okay.
lot of fun. Second smallest guy on the team, but I had a lot of fire in me. And it sucked because I didn't do anything scholastically. And I
Yeah.
did do well in the business course I was in. I was in a business class up there. I did really well in that. Everything else was terrible. Psychology. I went into school for business and psychology. I was like, I'm not reading all these books. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Go get me into the real world. Let me see business experience. Let me
Yeah.
learn from the streets.
Hands on.
That's where you learn. Like, that's where, no matter what, I had a real estate license. The real estate world's nothing like what they teach you in the books. I had insurance licenses. It's nothing like what you study in the books. That's not how it works.
Right.
Credit, there's no actual credit degree. But I can tell you this right now. You walk into a bank and you ask the banking world the rules of the algorithm, they don't know shit.
Yeah.
I walked into one of the guys and I said something about a credit card. I'm going to get approved. He said, you're going to get denied. I was like, no, I won't. He's like, I work for the bank. Yes, you will. He's like, run it. Boom, $16,000 approval. He's like, I don't understand. I said, do you understand anything about the credit algorithm? No, because it's not taught.
Yeah.
Right.
The information's out there, but you got to go learn it. You got to be hungry. You got to go figure out and say, okay, how do I do this? And that's exactly what I did.
How'd you fall into the credit world, right? Like, what was like, hey, this might actually like be something I can make a career out of.
January 24th of 2018. I was broke. I was sitting in my little apartment. I was having a couple beers or a glass of wine. I saw a Facebook ad. So I don't know if you guys know who Ty Lopez is. Ty Lopez is a really big marketing guy. Here in my garage, that was the guy. He was all over YouTube and stuff. And he had this young kid named Stephen Lau. Stephen Lau was 20 years old at the time. He had $2 million of available credit. He had 200 plus credit cards. Everything that I thought was bad, this kid had it. And I was like, damn. They were selling a $500 course. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to buy it. My friends thought I was stupid. In fact, it was funny because in February, the Philadelphia Flyers were playing in Las Vegas for the first time. And I showed up. My wife, at the time, she was just my girlfriend. I had just gotten the Amex Platinum card, which is the dumbest card. You should never have the Amex Platinum card unless you travel a lot, and you should have like 5 or 7 other cards before that. But we showed up to Las Vegas, and my buddy said, "What do you have that Platinum card for? Isn't that a card you got to pay for?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's $500." At the time, it was only $550. He's like, "Why the hell would you have that card?" And I was like, "You'll learn," because I was learning. And when we got to the airport, you go. Do you ever fly?
Yeah.
Okay, you go to the airport.
Lounge.
Do you ever drink?
Sometimes.
Grab a drink, you grab something to eat, right?
Yeah, Frank doesn't drink.
15. Okay, so life's cheaper that way. I wish I didn't
eat.
drink. What's that?
I eat.
But you eat, right?
Yeah.
You have a beer or a drink, it's $15.
Yeah.
You get a meal, it's $20. So it's $35 to $50 every time you go to an airport.
Right.
Centurion Lounge, it's free food, it's free drink, free cappuccinos, free wine, free bourbon, whatever you want.
Coffee.
Now you're paying the annual fee, but it's
2 trips, you're getting that back or whatever.
you go there with you and you used to be able to bring in guests, but like I was able to get that stuff for free, and I'm like, damn, all this from an annual fee of a card plus $200 airline credit, $200 hotel credit, plus you get other offers and stuff. Like the first time I ever had Wagyu steak, there was an offer from Goldbelly. You know, spend $100, you get $50 back. That's free $50. People don't even think about that. So from these credit cards, I was like, damn, this shit's pretty good. What more can I learn?
Right.
So I started diving into the credit world, started learning about how credit cards work, started learning about the algorithms and the factors that make up your credit score. Because most people have no idea. Cool, you got a 750 score. Can you give your teenage kid a 750 score? No, I'll give your 18-year-old kid a 700 credit score within 30 days of turning 18. When it takes 6 months to get a credit score if you're starting from scratch.
Wow.
Because I understand the algorithm.
All right, so break it down then. How would you do that?
Real simple. First, the parent or, aunt, uncle, grandparent, whatever it is, you've got to have a 700 credit score, preferably. You've got to have at least one credit card that's got 12 months age of history with 100% payment history, no missed payments on it, and it's got to have low utilization. Now, most people, when you talk about utilization, they'll tell you 30% utilization. You guys ever hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heard
30%.
15 too.
Right. So the real answer is actually 10%. It's got to be below 10%. And if you look on Credit Karma, which I don't care because all the realtor and mortgage people, they always give me shit. I'm going to pull this out. They always say 30% utilization and Credit Karma sucks. And I'm like, no. Credit Karma will show you and tell you. If you actually pull out Credit Karma, which I'm doing right now, and I show my scores, you won't be able to see this on the camera, but it's currently at 795 and 804. You go into credit card utilization on either bureau, you come right down here and it says credit card use. What's it tell you is the ideal?
1%.
Well, that's what I have. But it says
Okay.
0 to 9%
Oh yeah, excellent.
is ideal. How much
Yeah.
available credit do you see at the top there? How much available credit do I have?
236,000.
Imagine how much investing you can do with an 800 credit score and $230,000 of personal available credit. Personal. And what does it come down to? It just comes down to understanding. Oh, I just hit the button by accident. It comes down to understanding these 5 factors: payment history, credit card usage, age of credit history, total number of open active accounts, and inquiries.
Yep.
And when you understand just those 5 things, now they break down into 100 different parts, but when you understand those 5 things, every single person listening to this podcast can manipulate their credit score that quickly. Now, when I say that quickly, it takes time, okay? You can wreck your score 100 points overnight. It could take you 6 to 12 months to rebound and rebuild it, but it's that simple. I'm literally giving 18-year-old kids 700 credit scores within 30 days of turning 18 so that they don't have to co-sign, the parents don't have to co-sign for them for their first car, their first credit card, their first anything, other than maybe student loans.
So I'm thinking, we about to say something?
No, go ahead.
So I'm thinking 30 days, you say you get them a 700 credit score. That's not even enough for a revolving payment, right? Like,
No.
so or an installment obviously is like, 18 months or longer. So how are we, manipulating a system like that?
So what you do is when a kid turns 18, first off, they should all have checking accounts. They should all have a job, and they should have a savings account.
Right.
Okay? Simple, basic. Help the kids understand the basics. That's what we don't do. Like, how many conversations do you have with your parents or your family members, your aunts and uncles, about money?
Right.
Hardly. I mean, do you guys
Growing
ever
up, no.
Never.
None.
Right? Why?
Because they didn't have the knowledge. They didn't have it to pass on.
Right.
And that's part of the problem, right? So they didn't get it. But now we live in the greatest world where technology's at our fingertips. I learned more shit on TikTok by just scrolling for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's not, girls shaking their ass or their boobs and stuff like that. It's like when I see people with a Ferrari, cool,
Yeah.
I want to know what that guy does.
Right.
Right? When I see a guy who lives in a big, beautiful house, I want to know what that guy does. And I learn, I listen.
Right.
Right? Like, I want to listen to that guy. Like, I always joke and I say, how many guys have great fantasy football stats? And these guys are like, yeah, I'm the best. Cool. How many have good FICO scores? And they're like, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, the crazy thing is, it takes the same amount of time and energy. You're just not putting into the right things.
And
to pick your
discipline
route.
as well, though.
Discipline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but like you just said, your parents didn't know how to do it. Well, how did you figure out to get a fantasy football score? You figured it the fuck out. You did research. You went and looked up
Yeah.
something. You learned from
the
somebody.
desire is there more. The desire stronger to be distracted by a pleasure. That's pleasurable for them. Fixing their credit isn't pleasurable.
That's right.
Until it's fixed, but
Oh, then it becomes addicting. Then it becomes addicting because then you get a credit card with like a 60,000 point sign-up bonus, right? And like people don't understand that, but a 60,000 point sign-up bonus is worth $600 of cash value. Like right now, if I could, you guys, you pay your bills, right? You use a debit card or a credit card. You swipe them to pay gas.
Yeah.
You swipe them to buy food, buying groceries, paying your utility bills.
Yep.
Cool. If I could turn those expenses into worldly experiences right now, where would you go? Anywhere in the world. If I give you a free set of airline tickets in the next 4 months, where are you going?
Africa.
Okay.
Never
But you knew that right away. Like you've already thought about this then.
Yeah.
I'm going to Europe, so I guess we're going back to where we came from.
Okay. So that's cool as shit. But if I could take your everyday expenses and turn that into a trip in Europe, like we just spent 10 days in Spain last year. A year ago, we spent 10 days in Spain. The food is crazy different. The wine is crazy different. The people, the culture. 10 o'clock at night, everybody's on the street having fun. They're having a meal. They're having a cappuccino. They're having a beer. They're just sitting talking. They're having a fucking lime water.
Right.
It's wild. So what I do is I take the credit cards and I say, okay, we're going to take your expenses, put them on a credit card. That credit card is going to give you a 60,000 point sign-on bonus. That 60,000 points is worth 600 cash, but if you use it for international travel, it can be worth $1,800.
Wow.
For $1,800, you can fly to many places around the world.
Right.
And guess what? It's the same money you're spending every single day on your credit card or your debit card. It's the same money you could be spending on cash. The only difference is cash has no payment history. So when people say, well, why
Right.
not pay cash? Well, because there's no payment history. So when you go to buy a house and you pay everything in cash, there's no history. Do you pay people back on time?
Yeah.
That's what a credit score is. It's the history of do you pay your bills on time?
Yeah.
And credit cards, building with credit cards, you don't even have to use a credit card. You use a credit card once or twice a year, that thing will continuously report payment history just because it's reporting paid as agreed every single month on your credit report.
Wow.
And so again, blocking and tackling. Kids should have a simple credit card, cash back, because cash back cards will give you cash back bonuses, right?
Yeah.
So if you earn cash back at $600, it's worth $600. But if you have 60,000 points from a credit card, you can get 60,000 points, which can be converted into travel up to, you could literally, I mean, it could be worth up to close to $3,000, depending on the transfer partners. But that's,
Wow.
like, anybody ever tell you, like, has anybody ever talked to you about sign-up bonuses on credit card and how valuable they are? No.
No.
Like, how old are you?
33.
You're 33.
43.
Yeah.
How old are you?
He's 43. Don't let him lie.
Frank, how old are you?
I'm 37.
53.
He's 37,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
if you've never been taught, you don't know any different.
Right. Yeah, I was taught when I was younger, always stay away from credit cards. Stay away from them. Like,
What's that? The Gordon Ramsay or
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey, yeah. He's like, oh, credit cards are bad, American distress. And I'm like, they're not. Cars are dangerous too. Should we stop fucking driving?
yeah.
No, it's
The
called
internet's
beat this.
dangerous.
It's
The internet's
same thing
really
when
dangerous.
People say guns kill people. It's not. It's the people that's killing people.
Right.
The
Gun-
same thing.
It's irresponsible people that are
Yeah.
dealing with credit cards.
Right.
And that's because people use credit cards as like an extension of their income.
Right.
And the problem with
Right.
that is this. My number one rule, if you're all your listeners, you guys don't learn anything else other than this one strategy, and this is literally kind of what put me on the map. It's this one thing. PTZW. Pay to zero weekly. Every week, you should pay your credit cards to zero weekly. Why? You get a credit card, right? It's a 30-day cycle. In the month of May, they say, hey, congratulations, Jalil, you spent $1,000. June 23rd, we want you to make your first payment. Oh, by the way, minimum monthly payment's $35. And you're like, wait a minute, I spent $1,000 in May. I only have to make a minimum monthly payment of $35 and you guys are happy? Here's the problem. If you average $1,000 a month, $250 a week, when you go to make that payment June 23rd, now what's your credit card balance? $1,750.
Compounded interest.
That's not even interest.
No.
That's $1,700. That's just
From
compounding
you
spend.
paying, you paying the minimum, basically. From you just paying the minimum.
On June 23rd, that's not even. That's just the running balance, right? Because you spend $250 a week, 4 weeks. That's $1,000.
Right.
Your payment's not due for 3 more weeks. 7 weeks from the day you get your credit card. Your first payment's due 7 weeks later. That's $1,750. Now here's the trick. When you go to pay that credit card, it says, "Hey, you spent $1,000 in the month of May.
Right.
Minimum monthly payment is $35. Statement balance was $1,000. Your current balance is $1,750. Do you know if you spend $1,000 in the month of May, if you make $1 less payment than $1,000, you pay $997. You will pay interest on $1,000, not the $3 left over that you carried over. At 27% interest. It's a
Yeah.
trap.
Yeah.
That's once again why my program is called I Teach Credit.
Right.
I'm not here to give you the fish. Credit repair companies are like, oh, sit back, relax. We're going to delete and dispute shit for you, which half the time it doesn't work, and 80% of the time the stuff comes back on. So what do you got to do? You got to learn to build a credit profile. You got to learn to master the factors that make up your FICO score, which is why I teach people. I'm not giving you the fish. I'm going
Right.
to sell you the fishing rod. And I tell you up front, I'm selling you the fishing rod. I'm going to teach you how it works. And I'm going to show you how to fish for yourself and for your family for the rest of your lives so that your kids are no longer left in the dark and it's not an awkward conversation because you as the parent and the adult knows what to do.
Right.
How powerful would that be if at 18 years of age somebody told you the difference between debit and credit and how much cheaper life is by having a good credit score?
Right.
Right? Like, Frank, we were talking about you in real estate. How much does a credit score influence
Oh, my God.
your approval odds and the affordability of real estate?
And the loan amount, yeah.
Or even a car. You go to buy a car. It's a difference between 3% interest and 13% interest.
Absolutely.
So it's a difference between 20,000 and 80,000. Like, so I love everything you're saying, everything that you're teaching. It's just crazy because a lot of people don't really think about credit till it's too late. They're already in a situation, right? So it's like a lot of people don't go to the dentist until their tooth starts hurting. A lot of people don't take their car to the mechanic until there's an issue, right? So how do you get in front of these people younger? Like, do you do any like seminars or schooling or, you know, anything to help reach before it gets to that point? Because I'm sure when people are coming to you, their credit's already pretty jacked up probably.
So I would say it's probably 80-20. 80% of the people that come to me, their credit's jacked up. And it's, you know, they were 18, they got a $500 Capital One credit card. They racked it up, they thought it was cool. They went and bought pizza or they bought stupid shit. They bought sneakers, you know, the dumb stuff that people spend money on. And then they didn't pay it. Or they couldn't pay it. Or they made a minimum payment for 3 years. And like you said, the compounding interest over time, that interest compounding at 27% has caused them a lot of problems. Yeah. So what I do is I try to go live, which is why TikTok puts you in front of people you don't know. And with credit, people don't want you to know their situation, right? Like people don't want me to know that are friends with me that their credit sucks. I find out from other people that certain people are struggling with credit and they're like embarrassed to come. So what I try to do is put so much free content out there that people can learn and they can implement on a daily basis.
Right.
Because if you can learn, hey, just one stupid little thing, let me just learn to zero out my credit card every week. And I get the argument all the time, well, I get paid every 2 weeks, I can't do that. Well, then you're fucking up.
No, well, you got to budget your money. That's your fault for not budgeting. You still get a paycheck every 2 weeks, but you break it down into weekly structure.
When you use cash, could you overspend? No. If I only had 20 bucks in my pocket, I could only spend 20 bucks. I couldn't spend 200.
Right.
But people justify, well, I don't get paid till next week. Well, you shouldn't have spent more money than what you had. Same thing with a debit card. If you go to overspend on a debit card, what happens? It declines the transaction.
Or you get an overdraft fee.
Right, or you'll get an overdraft fee,
Right.
right? And why does the bank do that?
They want your money.
Fees. Fuck fees.
Right.
I want to collect interest, not pay interest. And so what I teach people is if you cannot pay off your credit card at the end of that week, you've overspent. You don't touch that credit card again. That one strategy, I call it the 7-day credit cycle. Every 7 days for 7 weeks. Get into the habit of using your credit card for every single transaction possible and pay it to zero at the end of every
You
week.
just, if you don't got it, don't spend it. That's the bottom line. Like, that's what I live off of. Like, if I don't have it in my debit account to pay the credit card, I'm not going to spend it. I'm not going to put myself in that predicament. I'm not
Yep.
going to over leverage myself because, like, what credit is a tool. It isn't like, it should be a tool. It shouldn't be like your survivor. Like, you know, it shouldn't be for survival. It should be for, you know, to build and grow and be able to obtain things that are, you know, larger purchases and invest in, for me anyway.
Yeah. And that's the thing with credit. Credit helps you to compound in your favor, right? Like you have credit, you go buy a house, you get a little equity, and then what do? You use your credit to buy another house.
Right.
If you don't have credit, none of that's happening because nobody's giving you a $400,000 or $200,000, you know, mortgage for 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But with a house, how many people have built equity and then they roll that into a second house or they start a business, right? Like I think the American dream in this world today is not buying the house with the white picket fence. I think the American dream is building a business and being self-sustainable so that you can live off your own income and not rely on somebody else's.
Right.
Yeah, it's not. Go ahead, Lo. I was just gonna say the American dream don't exist no more. It just don't.
What advice would you give people that's trying to obtain business credit or business funding?
So it's a good question. The best way to build business credit is to build a personal profile over 700. Most banks won't even touch you unless you have a personal profile of 680. The problem is when you apply for credit, even if it's business credit, they're still going to look at your personal profile.
Okay.
But the best part is when you're going to build business credit, you start with that personal profile because then A, it increases your approval odds, but B, like I was saying when I went into that Chase Bank, the reason I was able to get approved for a $16,000 credit card on a brand new business, I set up my business checking account that day. They had 0 data points on me.
Right.
But because I had 5 personal credit cards and I had an auto loan all with Chase, that's why I knew Chase had enough information on me. Just like
Give
that, I
it
got
to you.
approved.
Wow.
So to build business credit, show that bank or that lender on the personal side that you're responsible and that you can pay on time. By doing that, now when it comes to the business side of things, even if you have little or no income, they have something to base you on versus nothing. That's like when you go to start driving, you have no driving record, they give you the highest rates because they don't know how risky you are.
Right.
It's the same thing with credit. If you have no credit, you're a high risk, they won't give you credit.
Okay.
But if you can start by building a personal relationship with Chase, with American Express, or with a local credit union, like I really think business owners should always build a relationship with community banks.
Okay.
Local credit union and community banks are the best for lines of credit and things like that.
Okay.
For the best credit cards, you want to have your Capital One, your Chase, your American Express, Barclays, or Discover. Well, Discover was just bought out by Capital One, but that's what I teach people.
Right.
Go start off with like your lower tier cards and maybe go get a personal loan. And here's a cool hack. If you want a really cool hack to try to build credit, go get a loan, personal loan. Let's just say it's a $3,000 personal loan. Something small, something most people should be able to get approved for. Okay? No collateral to back it. Ready? Take out the first payment. Let's just say your payment's $50, whatever it is. You pay the $50. That next week, so now your balance is whatever it is, $2,950. That next week, pay $2,500 back.
Okay.
The money's from the loan. Don't use the money for anything. Just get the loan, pay the loan back, because now you only pay interest on the balance.
Right.
And then pay the balance off over the next 5 months. Because you want to have at least 6 months of payments on a loan to show consistent payment history.
Okay.
Your credit score will boost after 3 months of payments. So technically it's 4 months. 3 months of on-time payments, that gets reported, that's how you boost your score. Right?
Okay.
And like reporting is the biggest thing. So like especially for personal or business credit, understanding how reporting works. This is how reporting works for credit. And we're kind of jumping all over, but like that's just it just goes. Like,
Yeah,
it just goes.
yeah.
When you're starting off and you're building credit, what happens is you get a new credit card. The first month you spend. The second month, 3 weeks into the month, is when your actual payment is due.
Right.
Your reporting date, which is where everybody fucks up on their credit, your reporting date is the last day of the statement cycle. Now, on a loan, it's going to be several days after the payment due date. But the reporting date on a credit card is the last day of the statement cycle. The
Okay.
reason your payment is due 3 weeks into the month is because they want to see that it was made. And then on the reporting date, they're going to report 3 things. One, did you make your payment on time? Two, did you make the minimum monthly payment, or did you make some payment thereof, or did you pay it in full? And then three, they're going to report what was the balance at the end of that statement cycle. Now, here's the problem. Another reason why I teach people to pay their credit cards to zero every single week is because at the end of the month, right, your payment's not due. You report a high balance. Even if you pay your credit card in full, you still report a high balance. What happens? Now you're reporting high usage, your credit score drops. Your credit score drops, the banks can charge you higher interest rates. It's a fucking scam. They're setting you up to fail. But if you pay your credit card every single week to zero, you report low usage. By reporting low usage, you'll have a higher credit score, and when you go to apply for that next credit card, the bank's going to give you a higher credit limit. Why? Because your risk factor's lower.
Yeah.
Right now, if I came to you and asked to borrow $100, do you want me to pay you back in 1 week or in 4 weeks?
1 week.
Well, you said it like, duh, stupid fucking question, right? The reason the banks want you to do in 4 weeks is because they want you to have more spend than you can afford to pay back so they can charge you fees and interest.
And they want something to happen where you don't pay them back.
Right.
They want you to fail. They capitalize off of you failing.
They make way more money when your interest rate's 12% than when it's 2%.
Yeah.
Or on a mortgage, you're paying 9% versus 6.5%.
All right. So we hit on mortgages a couple times.
Yep.
What would you suggest people get as far as like that's trying to get into real estate, and what do you think is better, refinances or like a HELOC?
So that depends. If you got a mortgage where your interest rate was 2.75% or 3.5%, you're not refinancing that.
Yeah.
You're going to get a secondary mortgage.
Right.
I don't care how good. I don't care what that lender tells you. Don't do that.
Right.
Now there are times divorce, or there's times where you're just in a jam, or maybe you have to like cash out the whatever. There are times to do that, and that's where hopefully the mortgage lender is educated enough or smart enough and not trying to, because they make more money on an actual mortgage.
Right.
Someone will probably kill me for saying this, but that's all right. 'Cause I'm just being honest. It's always better to keep that 2.5% or that 3% interest rate and then get a second loan. And I'll tell you, HELOCs are adjustable.
Okay.
So you got to be careful with that because you don't know where interest rates are going.
Right,
We're hoping
right,
they come back down, but like
So what's it fluctuate with the market? For
fluctuates with the
HELOC?
market, yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And that's where when you're talking about the 10-year Treasury note, and mortgage professionals get way more into that stuff. But the best thing for you to do is just to get a secondary loan,
Okay.
and I would make it a home equity loan, not a line of credit, because the line of credits fluctuate. The HELOCs are fluctuating.
Okay.
So when it comes to mortgages, if you're trying to tap into it, don't refinance the entire thing. Now, if your rate's 6% and you're going to go from a 30-year to a 15-year, you're only 3 years into it, that's different, right? Because now you're shaving off, 12 years of the mortgage.
Right.
Your payment may be the same, but your term, you just saved how many years off that mortgage,
Yeah.
Right. Right.
right? And that's where I
Okay.
would definitely suggest that as opposed to doing a full refinance.
So for people that are looking to buy, like make that big purchase, whether it's a house or an investment or a vehicle, an expensive vehicle, what do you suggest their credit to be at so they don't really get hit with crazy interest?
Sure. So I always say the point of entry should always be a minimum of over 700, because every time somebody pulls your credit, it's going to drop 5 points, and that 5 points.
And they call your phone like crazy every time
Oh
they
yeah.
pull your
But
credit.
if you go for a mortgage, what happens is they sell that data. Like the second you pull your credit for a mortgage, boom, they're selling those leads like crazy because they know, hey, you just had ABC company pull your credit. We want to offer you stuff as well. So they'll sell that data to like 10 other different
Who
lenders.
sells it? Because I got a problem with them.
It's part of the credit reporting agencies, so they're the ones who sell it.
Yeah,
I don't know them personally, but there's a lot of them. But so I always say to have a 700 credit score. And the thought is this: if you know you want to buy a house, if you know you're going to buy a car in the next couple months or a year, like you were saying earlier, if you go to apply for a mortgage and you start focusing on your credit, then it's too late, right? Because either your credit's screwed from before or you just don't have any credit. What you got to do is 6 to 12 months before, like if you're like, all right, 2026, I'm buying a house. Cool. Start right fucking now. What do I need to know and learn? First thing, most important thing of all finances is a budget. Because you can't save if you don't have any money left over. You can't invest if you don't have any money left over. You can't pay your bills off if you don't have any money left over. You got to start with a budget. Understand how much money do I make and how much money am I spending.
Right.
Okay? When you understand that part first, you can realize you got one of two things. You either have an income problem or you got a spending problem. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay? Once you do that, you start to save Then you start saying, okay, you don't want to put money in a regular savings account. You want to put it into a high-yield savings account. High-yield savings account, instead of paying you 0.25% interest, is going to pay you anywhere between like 3.5% to 5%, depending on rates. When you start doing that, you start investing in building credit. You start with one simple cashback credit card. I can tell every single person, and never apply for a credit card. Go to Capital One pre-approval tool. Go to Discover pre-approval tool while you still can. Just Google Chase pre-approval tool. Okay? Credit card pre-approval. Just do a Google search for it.
Right.
When you do that, they'll tell you if you qualify. Like, I have so many people that are in credit repair and they're like, oh, I want to get a secure credit card. Well, don't do that. Like, why? Because you may not need a secure credit card. For those people who don't know, a secure credit card's prepaid.
Yeah,
Right.
I started with that when I first came home.
Yeah. So when you start with that, right, you have to prepay $200, which never do more than $200. It's not the credit limit that matters. It's just having a credit limit.
Yeah.
Okay. You start off with a simple. You go to the pre-approval tool, and they'll tell you if you only qualify, like if you had shit credit and you're rebuilding. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care what anybody's experience was. I don't care if you were incarcerated. I don't care if you were just a bum. I don't care if you went through a nasty divorce, you lost your job, you got sick, you got hit by a car, whatever the fuck it is. Wherever you're starting from, I'm rooting for you. Start somewhere. Okay.
Right.
Go to a pre-approval tool, see if you can get approved. If you can't get approved for, like, I have people can't get approved for a secure credit card. That's how bad their shit is. Okay? Look up, I have links, AVA, AVA. Just do a Google search, AVA Credit Builder. Do Self-Lender, Self-Lending Credit Builder. Do Credit Strong, Kickoff. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I teach people how to find these programs to where you may have to prepay for it, but don't start off with
So
the
do you
secure-
think they have to prepay because their credit's already shot, or do you think they have to prepay because they have no credit? Because I don't know. I had one credit card before I got locked up. Then I did around 6 years. I came home and I think I just from the gate went and got it secured. I didn't know if I could have started off with a regular credit card. But what would make them need a secured or a regular?
So typically, if they only qualify you for a secure credit card, that was wild. You guys both just did the same thing.
Well, bit my nail.
Both of you at the same time. You went like this. It was like wild, like in
I got like
unison. It was crazy. But no, I mean, like literally, like you guys mirrored each other. That was just wild. So yeah, the reason you would need a secure credit card is that you have some sort of bad history, or you're brand new, you're 18, you have zero credit established. That's where the bank's going to make you do it. That's why. And with becoming an authorized user, it can be 3 months before you turn 18. 3 months before your kid turns 18, Adam is an authorized user to a card. No missed payments, at least 6 to 12 months age of history, and it's got to be a card that reports like an American Express, a Barclays, a Chase, a Capital One. Okay? The only reason you go for a secure credit card is if you have bad credit.
Right.
Or you have missed payments or some sort of derogatories earlier in life. That's the only reason. Even BK, like people that go through bankruptcies and they're like, oh, I can't get approved. Bullshit. I'll start building credit day one. I have a guy I'm working with right now, went through bankruptcy. He's like, I don't know. Boom, here's what we're going to do. So you start with secure credit cards when you have to, just because of bad history. Otherwise, do pre-approvals because you'll be surprised. Capital One will give people credit cards. Capital One's a second chance bank. Capital One won't give me a personal credit card. They only gave me a business credit card because they're like, we don't want people who play the game like you. Because I have $250,000 when they pull my credit, and I went through the pre-approval tool. They said I was approved. I went through the actual application, which 90% of the time, if they tell you you're pre-approved, you're pre-approved. I went through the pre-approval process. They're like, you're approved. All these cards, cool. I went to denied. I was like, what the fuck? 3 months later, I did it again. Denied. I was like, what? Like, how is this possible?
Right.
And it was 2 different credit cards. Then I went and did there was a special offer where Capital One was offering 200,000 points on the business Venture X. I applied for that. I had to spend 20 grand in 3 months in order to get a sign-up bonus. But that 200,000 points was worth $4,000 of travel.
Right.
So I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. So let's go. But so that's where typically what you want to do is you want to understand and have an idea first. You should always know and be checking your credit profile every single week. Have an idea as to what's going on. Have an idea. Like how many people, have you guys heard of this in the last, I'm going to say, what are we in, June now? In the last 6 months, have you guys heard of people that are all of a sudden out of nowhere showing up 90 days late on student loans? There's 9.1 million Americans right now that are in trouble with student loans because what people don't know and nobody talked about, that student loans, because of COVID, came out of forbearance in September. 9.1 million Americans are in 90-day default status.
Wow.
And that impacts our credit?
100 to 150 points. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's mortgage people and realtors that are listening to this. They're gonna be like, "Oh my God, that's me," or whenever you listen to this, you're gonna be like, "Shit, that happened to my clients." I have had people that were a week of settlement, and it popped up. They repulled their credit. They're 90 days late on multiple student loans, and now they no longer qualify.
Wow.
Call the Department of Education, right on Credit Karma, look up the account. At the bottom of the account information, it'll say reported information. Go to the bottom of it. It'll give you the name of the student loan servicing company. You can call them and say, yo, this is what we need to do to fix this. Call them up and be like, hey, it's reporting late. Send me proof that you put in writing that I had a student loan payment that was actually due. Because remember, it's now 90 days late before it can report. Which means for 90 days, now, there are people that just take their fucking student loan mail and throw it in the trash and don't open it.
Yeah.
That happens. But for the people who don't and didn't do that, the people that just never got it, there's a way to fix it. And you can absolutely dispute that.
So I got a question for you from right here.
Yeah, sure.
How long did it take for a car loan to drop off your credit when it's paid off?
So it'll stay on your report for 7 years, right? So if you have an auto loan, that car will stay on your report for 7 years after it's paid off. So that history stays with you.
Good history, right? If it's
It's
paid
good
off.
history, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. When you pay off that car loan, your score's going to drop.
Because you don't have no installment credit yet.
It's one less open active account,
Yeah.
one less monthly payment every single month. So like when you look at Credit Karma and you look at any account that's currently open and active, every single month you make a payment, you're going to see a green check mark. If you miss a payment, you're going to see an X. If you're in deferment, you're going to see a dot. Okay? Every single month you have a green check mark. They stack. They're building that payment history up. Okay? So it's like nickels in a jar. All those nickels just keep adding up. It's a beautiful thing. When you stop that payment because you've paid it off, now you plateau. Now that number stops.
Right.
But remember, every single month, what they're looking at, depending on the algorithm, right? So if you're trying to get approved, and I can go down all the different credit algorithms. If you're trying to get approved for a credit card or maybe even an auto loan, they may use a FICO 8 or a FICO 9 or a Vantage Score 4.0. What they're looking at is your last 24 months of payment history.
Right.
When you're looking at getting approved for a mortgage, they don't care that you got your shit together in the last 24 months. What they're looking for is, hey, what was your credit history like 5 to 7 years ago? Because they're going to get in bed with you for 30 years,
Right.
not 5.
Yeah.
That's why they care more about the 7-year history. And a lot of people, they're like, Credit Karma says my score's a 700 because the last 24 months, you got a credit card or two, you had an auto loan, you made your payments on time, things were good. But 5 years ago, you had no credit or shit credit. Or when COVID came out, you lost your job, you missed some payments, whatever the case may be, you got sick, whatever the case may be, you didn't have any history or things got fucked up. That's where you have a problem. That's why it's really important to build that history as early as possible. Never close credit cards. Keep your credit cards open as long as possible because as long as that card's reporting paid as agreed and on time, that thing will continue to build payment history.
Even if you're
Great
not utilizing it at all.
I have credit cards that I don't even touch. I use them once a year purely because I know they're older credit cards. They're cashback credit cards, right? And like touching on this for a quick second, if I have $600 of cash back or 60,000 points, the 60,000 points is worth at least double. So I invest in points-based cards. But some of my initial credit cards were cashback credit cards that I just keep open because that age of credit history, when you look, my age of credit history is like 5 years and 10 months.
Yeah.
It's 5 years and 10 months, even though I started with a credit card 11 or 12 years ago. The reason it is that is because every year I add a new card, it lowers my age of history. So it's an
So
average.
get as many as quick as possible, you're saying?
So I suggest everybody have a minimum of 5 credit cards across 3 different banks. 5 credit cards across 3 different banks.
So
Here's
15
why.
credit cards.
No. 5 credit cards total
and
across
then
3 different
1,
banks.
2 or something, yeah.
Because there's a thing called credit card stacking. Like if you look at my wallet, right? This is my wallet. I have Amex, 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 Amex. This is something else. Chase, Capital One, Chase, and then I have Citi, my Costco card, and then my business Amex.
And that's Risque there, too. I seen that one.
What's that?
Club Risque.
Not Tesla. That's funny. I was like, wait, what? But the reason you stack is because I predominantly earn all American Express points.
Right.
Imagine having 3 different buckets and you got to fill them up in order to leave. Well, it takes a while when you're trying to fill up 3 different buckets.
Right.
But if I only have to fill up 1 bucket in order to earn that travel,
Right.
I just earn all Amex points. That's why my Gold, my Platinum, my Everyday Preferred card, they're all earning Amex MR points, which are membership reward points.
Okay.
That's where you want to build with one bank.
All right, right. So you are way more advanced, right? And you're very probably more aspirational than a lot of people listening. Just let's just say for like the basics, right? Like you're talking Air Max travel, and what if somebody just wants to get their foot in the door? What do you recommend?
3 cashback credit cards. Get a dining credit card. So like you're buying Chick-fil-A, you're going.
Yeah,
Get
he's
your
shaking his head.
Pizza on Friday
Yeah.
night, right? You want to have a gas card because most people they're buying gas and fuel. We know you're stopping at Wawa, local convenience store, which is going to register as gas. Okay, and then you want to have a supermarket grocery card. They're your biggest expenses: gas, groceries, and then we'll say dining.
Now,
When I have cashback cards like the Capital One Saver
Okay,
card,
so I was gonna ask you.
3x back. You can go do the pre-approval tool. If you don't do a lot of dining and groceries, like 'cause if you're a young kid and your parents buy all your food, then just get the Quicksilver card. 1.5% cash back on every single purchase. If nothing else, you're earning 1.5% back. What's your debit card pay you? Nothing. How much does cash pay you? Nothing. Now, if you're getting a 5% discount because you're paying with cash, okay, fine, use cash. I carry cash with me everywhere I go. You will never, ever, I will cringe if I have to pull out fucking cash from my pocket. I cringe because I look at it now, unless I'm getting a discount. And that's the case, then I would do it. But from a banking standpoint, there's no paper trail in that cash.
Right. And no rewards either.
No rewards.
Yeah.
So now, granted, banks, they're always taking a cut. So like, there's a downside to credit cards. But at the end of the day, most places, right? They're not saying, hey, we're charging an extra 3% fee. They bake it into the rate because how many people have gone on fucking TikTok or Facebook and be like, yo, this asshole place is charging 3% credit card processing fee. Don't go there.
Yeah.
That happens. So
Yeah.
everybody's paying the same price anyway. You might as well get 2 or 3% back on that credit card purchase.
Yeah.
well, not only that, I see it as like I'm paying that interest or I'm paying that percentage for an investment into my future because I'm utilizing credit for like business or to make business decisions off of.
Absolutely. Right? If you're going to have business
Pay to play.
expenses, pay to play. If you're going to have business expenses, right? Like how many people are getting married? Right? Somebody gets married, thinking about a honeymoon, right? I teach married couples how to get a free honeymoon. Well, how the fuck you do that? You get a credit card and you get a credit card. You hit a sign-up bonus, you hit a sign-up bonus. You pay for the airfare, she pays for the freaking flights. I mean, for the hotel stays.
Yeah.
Now your honeymoon's basically paid for.
Right.
If you knew the number of people that I've helped them pay for their honeymoons, you go to buy a brand new house. Does it suck when you have to buy brand new fixtures and equipment? New refrigerator, new stove, new whatever? Cool, get a brand new credit card. Get a 60,000, 75,000 point sign-up bonus. Now you got a free trip to Europe. So that after you buy that house, right, all the expenses you put into that house, now you can go and have a nice vacation because of it.
Wow.
You're like, damn, that's a smart idea, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, this is something big that I always see on the internet. People will say, if you have a collection, you're never supposed to pay it off. Like, what do you think about that? I always hear that on the internet a lot. Like, never pay collections off. Always, what do they say? File against it or something like that?
They'll
the
tell you to
credit?
dispute it.
Yeah, dispute it.
So here's what I would say to that. The first thing is this. If it's a collection debt, you don't owe them that money. They bought that debt from somebody else you did owe money to. Unless it is a collection that is still with the original creditor.
Okay.
If it's with the original creditor, like Discover, and they have a collection company trying to call in a debt, if you don't pay it, they may sue you for it.
Right.
And they'll come after wages.
Right.
Okay? So if it's a collection debt, the first thing you want to know is, okay, who was the original creditor? Number one. Number two, I always tell people, never pay collection debt unless it's paid for deletion and it has to be a small amount. Or like, let's say you can't get approved for the mortgage unless the collection's handled.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I tell people, never pay collection debts.
Yeah.
Settle them for lesser amounts and never go on a payment plan with a collection.
Okay.
So you either do a pay in full for deletion, you settle for a lesser amount, or you allow the statute of limitations on the collection of 4 years to expire.
Okay.
In which case, then you say, show me proof that that was even my debt, and show me the agreement of what the actual total debt was that you agreed to. Because there's another statute or whatever it's called that they cannot collect more than 20% over what the original debt was.
Okay.
So if it's $1,000, they can't come after you for more than $1,200.
Right.
Now,
Right.
that may vary depending on states, and I'm not sure how many states your podcast is listened to. The statute of limitations is typically 4 years, and they can't go after more than 20% on top of whatever the original debt was.
Okay.
And the same thing with repos. Like, I get people that are like, oh, I gave the car back. I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you washed the car, filled up the tank, and gave it back to the bank. They don't care about that. A repo is a repo.
Right.
You defaulted on a loan. Unless you can somehow sell it, you sell that car, which I'll tell people sometimes, like if you're underwater on a car, try to get approved for a loan. If you're going to sell a car and you're going to take it for a loss, get approved for a loan first.
Okay.
Then sell the car, and you're like, well, we can't get the title to the person because you're selling the car for less than what it's worth. Okay, but then you take that loan that you got, apply that to the auto loan, and now you're
Pay it
whole.
down.
Now you're whole, right? Now you're no longer, you're still underwater in total. You're still going to have a $5,000 loan or whatever the case may be because you're underwater. But do that and then get rid of the car because now.
What about if you have, say, if you have a couple years left on your payment and you want to pay it off sooner to then trade it in? Are you? Might be the way your loan's structured, but can you pay off without getting interest? on
Yeah.
it?
So let's say and I get a lot of people like, I'm trying to build credit. I want to pay off my car loan. Pay your car loan down so that you have 6 months left or 5 months left, maybe 4, depending on what it is. Because what happens is you pay interest on the carried balance. If you, let's say for example, you have a $10,000 car loan or a $10,000 car loan, and your payment's $500. Okay, pay that thing down to $2,000. Don't
Left.
pay off the $10,000. Pay off $8,000. Because now you're only paying interest on the $2,000, but you're gonna have 4 months of payments, or whatever it works out to be, so that you're still building credit. Because remember when you said like you pay off that auto loan, your score drops because you have one less open active account. Those extra 4 or 5 months, if you're in the rebuilding phase, will help you.
What about if, like you said, ass backwards on your loan, your loan's more than what the car's worth. So when you go to trade it in, come there with the check or come there with money.
Get a loan, apply it to the car. Apply it to the car.
So
Because
just get
here's the cool
another
thing.
loan, put it to pay that off.
Right, so you get a loan, hurry up and apply it to the car loan. Hopefully the car loan reports the lower balance. Now you're no longer underwater, right? Because if you can roll the debt into another new car, but then they jack up your interest rate.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you got that car plus the other car.
Right. Take this side loan, hurry up and apply it to the car, pay that off because this loan may not even be on your credit report yet. They may not even know this loan exists.
Yeah.
And now you pay off the car, you're at least break even, you're going to get better, more favorable loan conditions, lower interest rates.
Your what's your name? Credit score's up now because you just.
Well, the credit score won't be because, first off, when you take a new inquiry, you're going to lose 5 points. You pay off this car loan, now your score's going to drop again. But you're not going to have that paid off because when you apply for the new car,
You're already gonna have that.
it's not going to matter.
You're still gonna have that car still.
Right. You're still going to have that car, that loan will still be open. There's so many, I'm telling you, you could go down like, there's 100 different directions I
It's
could
just
take you down. on this.
strategic.
It's all strategy.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, and I always say, every person's credit profile is different. I've never done 2 profiles that are the exact same. Every single person's profile is a Rubik's Cube. I've spent $10,000 in 7 years looking at Rubik's Cubes and figuring out how to solve them. And some of them are 2-turn fixes, some of them are 12-month fixes.
Right.
The difference is how committed are you to fixing it and how soon are you going to get started? Because I have people that came to me 3 years ago and like, I'm not paying for this.
Yeah.
3 years now, they're like, fuck, can you help me?
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you, what's one of obviously, no one's got to be mentioned, but what's one of the most craziest credit scores you've seen that ended up doing like a quick turnaround or?
Well, so the craziest score I've ever seen, and I have permission to mention his name. Nobody here knows him. His name, I don't think so, but he's not from this area. His name's Dalen Lewis. He was a 394 score when he came to me.
Wait, what's the lowest you can get? 350.
300. 300 to 850. He was a 394. It was the lowest I've ever seen. And I was like, what the fuck? Bankruptcy. Actually, I don't even think he went bankruptcy. He got divorced. He had like 18 accounts with missed payments, and like 50 of them were in collections. And I'm telling like multiple missed payments. Multiple missed payments. But yeah, he was the worst one that I've ever seen. But some of the quick turnarounds, let me come down here, I'll show you. because I'm all about transparency. I'm all about showing proof because there's so many scam artists out there. It's like, and you guys can thumb through some of these, but like when you see some of these results, you can swipe. You see some of those results, and they're all time-stamped. I literally take timestamps of them. You can see that most of those are all 3-month jumps.
Wow.
Anywhere between 30 points. My highest was 102 points in 9 days. All organic, 0 deleting, 0 disputing, all 100% organic strategies.
Wow.
And it's crazy.
There's yours, Frank.
725. I'm probably, let me see real quick. I guess I go on my Discover app.
You can go on any of them. Yeah, go on Discover.
Man.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And when you see that many of them, and especially because I always do a timestamp, like this was October of 2024, 651. I mean, 3 months later, they were 758.
Wow.
So it's 3 months. Like that's why I do the screenshots, because the screenshot shows you. You can go into Credit Karma and check any of this
There
shit
you
out.
And how complex were their
Right, so 765. You should be proud as shit of that.
Yeah. The
And you
got
invest
the same
in a lot of
amount
stuff.
Time too.
What's that?
The same amount of time
Right,
as yours
5 years.
almost too.
Now let me just see one other thing. So when you look at this total accounts, revolving utilization, fantastic, 4%. That's fucking awesome. Like you don't even realize. And here's like, I want to say this if anybody's still listening at this point, but like, you were incarcerated.
Yeah.
What are the odds that you thought you'd be where you are right now?
I kind of know it.
So you had it in your mind like I was gonna fucking do it.
Yeah.
So that's good, because how many people come out and they don't? They think there's no chance they're ever getting to here.
Right.
Like that's why I applaud you, and that's why like when you asked me to come be a part of this, if we can touch just one fucking soul today
Yeah.
from this podcast, that's one person, because you don't know, they may be the next you. And they may have a podcast that's 10 times bigger than yours and a business 10 times bigger than mine. How many people is that guy helping?
Yeah.
How many people is that single mom helping? Because she was down and out and she thought no chance, no way, no how it's going to happen.
It's a trickle effect. It's
Yeah,
a trickle down
absolutely.
effect.
That's why I say the ripple effect of
And
what
that's why
we
we do it too. That's why we do it too. So we can help. Because, yeah, I'm saying it now that I knew it. But yeah, I had doubts. Like you have doubts the whole time. Even business today, real estate today, whatever today. Them doubts creep in. You can't help that. But like you got to try to think positive, think optimistic, and at least have a plan. Like have a plan and really work on it. Like I was so discouraged for my first 6 months home. I was living in my sister's basement. So I didn't have no credit. I couldn't get a house, right? I had a felony on my record. I was working under the table, no credit. I couldn't get my own place.
So you were non-existent.
Yeah.
You were non-existent. You had no
Basically.
paper trail. You had no
Yeah.
W-2 income. You had nothing.
Yeah.
And here you are today. How cool is that shit?
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy.
And how
'cause,
much did you have to sacrifice to get here?
A lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of
His clothes.
clothes.
Did a lot of stripping.
I had a body for that, but
And here's another fun question. Who was your mentor? Who did you learn from? Who was the person that inspired you to be like, I'm going to fucking do what that guy does?
I really didn't have that until I already had the ball rolling. It was really the fear of being like other people that I didn't want to be like. But then, like in there, you got all the books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, all the real estate stuff, like that. We were actually in credit courses up there. They had like Money Sense, Money Smart. They had money management classes. So we just utilized all the stuff up there. But that's how we met. We met upstate together.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we were in classes like this. We did business classes. We did stocks. Like we did everything we could up there to try to change the narrative and change our own direction. Like coming home.
So do you guys invest in the markets at all now?
Stocks.
Yeah.
I do vaguely. Not like it's just like somewhere to put my money at. It isn't like I'm not looking at it constantly investing.
Daily cost averaging. Don't try to pick winners.
I'm more of a crypto guy.
So I have a little portfolio of crypto as well. Daily cost averaging. For anybody listening to this, daily cost averaging. You're never going to guess the Teslas. You're never going to guess the fucking Amazons. You're not going to be smart enough to know, the next Facebook, whatever stocks are up. Just Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors, S&P 500.
That's my man.
VOO, S&P 500. The best brokers out there, all these people, we're going to invest your money, these financial advisors, and they might get mad at me too for this, but it's like Warren Buffett straight up said, you're not going to outperform the S&P 500. 99.9% of them won't outperform the market. And when he dies, guess where all of his wife's money's going? S&P 500. just ride the markets. You're going to have your ups and your downs, but if you look at the history over the last 50 years, what it's done, on average, the returns, somewhere between 8 to 10%. Daily cost averaging, okay? Put it in the markets, and then when you need that money, you take it out. Crypto, I love crypto. I know many people who've made lots of money, but the problem is people get emotional about crypto, and that's where they get fucked up, right? Like, here's a funny story. I bought my first Bitcoin at $660. What's Bitcoin at today?
105,000.
105,000.
Yeah.
I bought my first Bitcoin at $660. 2 months later, that shit was worth like $300, and I was like, oh, if I don't sell,
Yeah.
I didn't lose it.
No way.
I
you
forgot
sold.
about it.
Oh.
I forgot about it.
Oh.
A year and a half later, it was at 1,800. It hit 2,200. I sold that shit so fast. What a fucking dummy I was, right? Because I got
Wow.
emotional.
Yeah.
I got emotional. I wasn't thinking 30 years down the road.
Yeah.
Imagine if I did daily
You could
cost.
borrow against it too.
Absolutely. Right? Imagine if I just put $20 a week aside. Start with $20. Start with $20. Put $20 a week aside. Figure out where you can take it. Pay your bills. Pay your bills first. And then try to take 10% of your income and figure out some simple place.
People, do you know what it is though? A lot of people want that instant gratification. It's like they'd rather go and eat McDonald's or they'd rather go and grab a six-pack. They don't want to invest in their future. It's and I was like that once too, right? The light bulb goes off for different people at different times if it ever goes off, but it's tough, man. It's tough. That's what the podcast is about, though, enlightening people. And that's why I show I don't post anything to show up. I show like the things that I do and the stuff that I got here and there to show motivation more than anything, because like the things that I'm proud of I can't show, like the things that I'm most proud of and my biggest like things that fulfill me. I really don't post that stuff, but like that my transformation and where I came, like that's what I post just so people can see like you can change too. I didn't have anything handed to me. Work on your credit. Come up with a budget. Come up with a side hustle. Like, a better life is out there if you just apply yourself. And it's like, say no to the right stuff and say yes to the right stuff.
I look at it this way. This is why side hustles, and this is why I say the new American dream is start your own company. When you work for a job, somebody's always getting a cut of the money produced, the value produced. Somebody else is getting a big cut of that. Why not be the person to get 100% of that cut, or have somebody else do the work and you get the cut while you save your time to be with your kids or to be doing whatever else? Right? Like when you think about life that way, you're like, man, like I'm doing all this work, going back to the beginning, like I'm working really, really hard and I only have a little bit to show for it. Could I make more doing it myself? And the answer is yes. Go figure out how to make that money. And like that's what I'm most proud of is like I started a company that I can pay my bills. Do I dress fancy and flashy? I'll be honest. Amazon shorts, $35. My own company t-shirt, $9.50, right? I bought this chain when I was 19. I didn't get it till I was 20. It was on layaway for a year. A year. I've had the same chain, Apple Watch. I get a new one every 4 years. There's nothing fancy about what I have. I'd rather have cash in my pocket and zeros in my bank account, not a zero, zeros in my bank account, than have fancy, flashy shit.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you know what I realized? Nobody fucking remembers that shit 3 months from now.
And it'll be something else new up by the time.
Right. And then all of a
3
sudden,
months
what? Now you got to buy something new?
Yeah.
Fuck that. I don't care what anybody thinks.
Keeping up with the Joneses, they say.
Yeah.
So we're crunching on time right now. I definitely want to get you back on because there's so many layers. There's so many different. We didn't even talk about business credit. Like there's so much to get into. If you could leave the audience with one thing, what would that be?
You're not competing against anybody else. You may have to in business in certain aspects of life, but in life, the only thing you're competing against is the person you were yesterday. The person you were yesterday is the only thing you're trying to get better than. Because the person yesterday was in a position. The person tomorrow is going to be there based on what the person yesterday did or what you do today.
Yeah.
This was 12:34 a.m. last night.
The support letter looking for sometimes won't
Right
come from.
here.
Oh,
This one.
I'm not in competition with nobody. Right? So that's the
literally
universe.
said
Look,
the same
that's the
thing that I
universe. You see
said.
the hair stated up?
Yeah.
That's synchronicity. The universe is always fucking listening. And it doesn't
Crazy.
matter what your religion is. If you
Yeah.
believe in energy, right? Like somebody once told me that religions are all parallaxes. And I said, what the hell is a parallax? This is living good. This is Catholicism, this is Muslim, this is Judaism. They're all different views of the same thing. Do good, live good. and help bring other people with you.
Yeah.
Right.
So the only thing you're really competing with when you came out of being incarcerated, what happened? You had to get a little bit better. You didn't just boom one day plug in and you're all of a sudden in the fucking Matrix like Neo, and all of a sudden now you're living that life. No, you had to grow.
Day by day, put in the work.
Grow. When we're talking about cold plunges, that first time, did it hurt? Did it suck? Does it still suck when you first get in? Sure. But now, after 10 seconds of deep breathing, I can just mellow out and be good. But that took time. That took months of going into it, and it sucked. So that one thing is you're only competing against yourself. Cool, somebody else got a brand new fucking Rolex? Who cares? How does that affect your life?
Right.
It doesn't. Somebody else got a brand new Mercedes? Who cares? They're probably fucking $20,000 in credit card debt, and they don't want you to know it. Right?
Yeah.
You got an extra. It's powerful when you save $100. It's more powerful when you save 10 of those, and now you have $1,000. And then when you take that $1,000 and you save, and you now have $10,000, and you could buy that first house,
You're
or
in the
better
game.
yet, you could buy that fucking first business. That's when the power of zeros comes into play, and that's where being better than yesterday. Because
It
yesterday,
starts with one though, then
Starts
two
with one.
zeros, then three. Yeah.
the power of fucking zeros, man. You know, you start off, you could do 10 push-ups, then you could do 20, then you could do 40. How much does that impact your world? A lot.
Yeah.
Right.
You have $1,000 credit card debt? Cool. Let's bring it down to 500. Let's bring it down to 100. All of a sudden now you have no credit card debt. Now you got savings.
Now you're going the other way.
That's right? I never even thought about that till right now.
You start going from this way to this way.
I'm going to text you right now because I'm going to create a video on just that. That just came to me. Going from credit card debt zeros to having zeros in investment accounts. And that's the other thing. You know what? People fucking think and talk. They don't do.
Right.
They don't do. They don't do because they're afraid. Do something. Do one thing. Do something that makes your life tomorrow better than what it was when you woke up today. And I promise you, next thing you know, you're going to be at podcasts like this, influencing communities, influencing societies, because there's a lot of fucking men, they think they're tough, but they're living a shit life. A tough guy is a guy who can provide for his family, provide for his kids. That's a tough
Absolutely.
guy to me. Because
Absolutely.
emotionally, I know tough fucking men that emotionally have quit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I just want to say thank you for having me on here, man, and I can't wait to come
Thank
back
you
on here
for
'cause
stopping by.
this
Thanks
is
for
man.
awesome.
coming by and dropping the gems, man. I'll be in contact too anyway about some stuff. I have a million questions for my personal stuff, but
Real quick before we sign out, where can people find you at?
So all my handles are basically I teach credit. I do have like if you go on TikTok, I've got like 20 imposter accounts. Like, you know, you've kind of gotten to a level when people are like, you just asked me for $5,000 of Bitcoin. I'm like, why what? I'm like, I would never do that. Like, so that's happened. So like, just search me. I teach credit. I have like 127,000 followers on TikTok, Facebook and Instagram. For whatever reason, didn't do as well. YouTube's like 3,000.
Okay.
But that's where, or just shoot me an email, info@iteachcredit. Just mention this podcast, and you know, I'll set up a free phone call with you just to get you started, and then I'll just teach people what to do. But you just, I teach credit is everything. ITC, it's the same logo everywhere.
Yep.
But it'll be cool, and I'd love to help people out.
appreciate you, Ryan.
I'll even
Thanks,
do a
man.
Zoom call for all your followers if you guys want to do a Zoom, like an
Yeah.
actual educational Zoom class. Private for your people. We'll give a private link out the week of or whatever. I'm happy to do that. I just want to create the knowledge. And then if people have the means and they want to...
Yeah, we might set up a Zoom call with you and our followers. We'll have people sign up. You know, we'll get like, 10 people, 20 people, whoever, some motivated listeners that they want to learn a little bit. Maybe a quick Q&A too.
Yep.
Just so we can help some people out. But we appreciate you, Ryan.
Love it, man.
Streets of success.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.